All right, let's do this. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. It's time for another exciting lightning talk. I'm Parag Katkar, your host for tonight. I'm the head of consulting practices at InRhythm, and we have a lot of exciting content lined up for you in the upcoming weeks. Our lightning talks are hosted every Thursday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time, and every week our practice area consultants they speak on latest and greatest technology trends in the industry which will help you learn and grow in your career. And this week, Nikolai Tarasov, who is a senior iOS engineer with us, is going to show us how to build full stack applications in AWS Amplify. AWS Amplify is an end-to-end solution that lets front-end web as well as mobile developers easily build and host full stack applications on AWS. So without further ado, let's get it started, Nikolai.
Yeah, hello everyone. So let's get started. So today, one second. Today we're gonna speak about what is AWS Amplify, and we will talk about what are the main components of AWS Amplify. I will do a demo, so I will not keep demo for the end, but right after we quickly discuss what is AWS Amplify, I will show you a real demo, how it is to integrate iOS SwiftUI app client with AWS Amplify, so you get better idea. I will show you how AWS Amplify Studio looks, so it's basically a visual interface, and then we'll go back to the slide deck and discuss advantages and disadvantages and alternatives. So what is AWS Amplify? So before we speak about AWS Amplify, let's speak about AWS. So many of you probably know what is AWS. For some people who doesn't, AWS is Amazon Web Services. It's a full stack platform designed for creating mobile and web applications, backends, and it's like one of the main cloud providers. There are some other cloud providers like Google Cloud or Amazon Azure. So AWS is one of these three major cloud providers, and AWS platform includes a large variety of tools for storage, authentication. It's hard to name all, so probably everything you need in your app, like most of the things, are available in AWS. And in 2017, AWS introduced a new service called AWS Amplify, which is basically a package of different AWS tools put in a single place, and it simplifies full stack app development, and it is easy for new AWS developers, like for AWS newbies, basically, to get it working, to get backend for their applications. AWS Amplify supports iOS, Android, Flutter, React Native, or web development. And if we talk about web, it integrates with popular JavaScript framework like Vue, React, or Next. So AWS Amplify consists of 5 major components. So first one is Amplify libraries. These are client libraries which are used to integrate your application code with backend using declarative interfaces. Next one is Amplify Studio. I mentioned a little bit about that. It's a visual interface where you can set configuration for your backend. You can select services which you need to integrate in your app, and you can do much more. I will show you how it looks. Amplify CLI. So basically, it's another tool which is used. It's a command line interface which is used to add service, remove service, manage environments, and so on. Next one is UI components. It is also useful tool which AWS Amplify provides. It is an open source design system with pre-built UI components, which helps to speed up application development. But currently, this UI libraries with pre-built components available for React, React Native, Angular, Vue, and Flutter. And the last component is Amplify Web Hosting. So it is an AWS service that provides Git-based workflows for continuous deployment and hosting of full-stack web apps. So now we'll go to demo. Let's do demo. So today I'm gonna do a demo of my side project where I used AWS Amplify for my backend. So this is iOS application, which is Swift UI application, and I used AWS Amplify as a backend. So I'll start with, so basically the application is called ProOffer. It is for like home repair service, home improvement service, like Samstack or TaskRabbit, something like that. So basically in app Swift file, you just need to import different libraries. So these are those open source libraries which are used. That was source component which I mentioned on the slide, and you need to initialize and add all these plugins. And so this is how it looks. Amplify add. So Cognito auth plugin is used for login, and AWS Amplify plugin API. Sorry, AWS API plugin is used for GraphQL API, and the data store is used for storing data, and S3 storage is used for storing media files like images and so on. So let me show you basically, yeah, one second. Yeah, let me show you how it looks in the simulator. So this is the app. Basically, you can create order here. You can type, for example, fix my dishwasher and some description. Just do it. And then next, yeah, address is not added yet. It's still in works. Yeah, so you can see fix my dishwasher. And now let's go to, so let's go to the Amplify Studio. So this is how Amplify Studio looks. Once I created that service request, it will be stored in on backend. Yeah, and this data manager, for some reason, I tried before the demo. It's not loading something with Amplify. Usually it works, but once I upload it, it should appear here in data manager. You can see all the service requests here, but I can show it on a different simulator. So let's see. Okay, that's fine. Let me show you. Okay, and yeah, I have a second app. So it's a ProOffer Pro, basically app for handymans for service providers. And this is a good example of having two apps and single backend. So let me show you this app. Okay. Let me log in. Don't say me that password is wrong. 1 second. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. So this is a second app. Here you can see fix my dishwasher. So it's a dummy image. It doesn't have actual image yet, so don't worry. But providers can see now this service request. They can open it. They can make offers. They can see where it's located on the map. So it is all, so API is, so all backend is AWS Amplify. So basically, I will probably switch to Amplify and do walkthrough instead of showing every single step in the app. So basically, for authentication, I use this service. It is like pretty straightforward. You can select you wanna email login or through third-party provider like Facebook, Google, Amazon, sign in with Apple, and you can do like multi-factor authentication. You can set verification email, even like you can set email text and so on. So both apps, ProOffer and ProOffer Pro, are using same authentication mechanism. And for data, this is the interesting part. So I use GraphQL API, and here you can create different models like user, and user can be provider or customer, and also offer, project. All these entities are here. You can set relationships. For example, customer may have multiple projects, and projects may have multiple offers, and one offer may have only one project, and so on. So all these relationships are handled here. So it's a user-friendly visual editor. You can also switch to GraphQL schema. If you prefer to add like schema directly, you can do that. So that's about data. GraphQL API, as I mentioned, I use GraphQL API, which is backed by AWS AppSync. So again, Amplify Studio is a single place which combines different AWS services. For GraphQL API, I use AWS AppSync, and I will go to AppSync. So basically, if you want to add some more functionality, so it's scalable, you can go to AWS console and you can like customize it even more. You can test your queries, and you can do much more, because as you can see here, you can do much. So you just set up API and you add models. So once you add models, AWS Amplify creates like all the needed queries, mutations to modify these objects, create these objects. But if you need to add something else, you can go to AppSync service and you can add your changes here. You can select like authorization and all the other details here. So you can play with schema and other functionality. Also, as you can see, there's much more functionality. You can add REST API, you can add analytics, predictions, interactions, notifications, like also notifications are handled by Amazon Pinpoint. So it's a separate service, but you can start from here, which simplifies things. And UI library, as I mentioned, what is cool about this UI library, you can sync it with Figma. I haven't used it yet because it's not supported for iOS, but seems like you may import Figma, and so it will like create components based on Figma. So for someone to try it, I haven't tried. I create UI myself. Yeah, file browser, also useful tool. You can see files here. So basically, yeah, I've been working on image uploading to S3. Again, for storage is S3 bucket, which is AWS service. Yeah, so that's about, and you can manage environments of production and staging, and also about CLI. Yeah, and I'm gonna switch here. So CLI also, you can do like amplify status, and it will show you what current services you have. And you can switch between environments. So it shows like I'm on staging environment, what services I have. I can add services from command line. I can add them locally and push them to like Amplify remote. And same for second app. So it's Amplify status. Yeah, so that's about it. And what I wanted to show, let me show you. So Amplify Sandbox, Amplify Studio Sandbox, it is also a useful tool for someone who wants to try it and doesn't have AWS account. You can do limited things here, like create models or look up this UI library. For all the other functionality, you need to have actually AWS account, but it's not hard to create. So you can create one and play with it. If you don't want to create an AWS account, you can use this sandbox and try it out. And yeah, so about project, I will show you how. Let me show you. So this is sign up. Yeah, so this is how, for example, fetching of user attributes works. Just import Amplify. I used amplify.auth.fetch user attributes. You fetch it, you set it to published variables or app storage, depending on your need, or project view model. It's more complicated, like make offer. For this, I used data store from Amplify. And first you need to query, you can query for user, for specific email. So you can specify like what user, then you get results, and then you query for provider from that user. And then you get, like you add, you associate offer with that provider. So just wanted to show you the code, just to get an idea how it looks. And so that's about it. I don't know if I covered everything. Yeah, this is querying for offers. Looks pretty simple. Just Amplify data store query offer. What is, I forgot to mention. So since I'm using GraphQL API, all the models are auto-generated. So let's see. So I didn't have to create all these models for data models I created in Amplify. So I created them there, and I ran Amplify CLI command, and it's Amplify pull command with your app ID, and it pulls all those models from Amplify remote, and it generates all these models for you, so you can use them. You don't have to create. It's pretty cool. So that's about demo. I can continue with slides, and if somebody has questions about this, I can go back. So let's talk about advantages and disadvantages. So first of all, it's faster development. Basically, Amplify initial idea was to simplify development and have a single place with all AWS services. By having UI libraries, it also speed up UI development, and by using CLI, it's also a convenient tool. So all these tools are aimed to speed up development and make it easier to have your backend for your app, because having your own backend is a different story. So this is a good tool to make your development faster. Next one is user experience. So Amplify was designed to unify user experience across multiple platforms. In my demo, I showed you 2 separate iOS apps which are talking to same backend. So this is one of the examples, how you can have a single backend and multiple clients. And if I would be a web developer or Android, I would create maybe another client. Maybe I will in the future, we'll see. So scalability, as you probably know, AWS allows you to scale your application. And since AWS Amplify is AWS service, when you start developing with Amplify, you may keep in mind that in the future, it will be easier to scale it. So this is one of the advantages. Next one, it's free to start. So basically, Amplify itself is free, and you only pay for the usage, like for the services you use. I used it for past 6 months probably, and I during my development doing request testing and development, and it was just like few cents a month. So, but obviously when you have like thousands of users, you'll have much more usage and cost. And what is good about AWS Amplify that AWS, just recently I found out that they have like if you have your like side project or like project you're working on, you may apply for 1,000 credits, $1,000 of credits for AWS Amplify. And so it's a good chance. Like I applied, I got that credit. So it's good. You may try too if you want. It's a good start for somebody who wants to do some like side project and explore. So another advantage is web-based analytics. Of course, it provides lots of different indicators which help developers and managers to monitor what's going on in the app, what's the usage, and use different metrics to see how user behaves if there's any issue. So these are the advantages. And let's talk about disadvantages. So first, yeah, like AWS Amplify claims it's like simple, easy thing to do. Yeah, in some extent it is simple. Maybe it would be difficult for me to create my own backend and do lots of backend coding, all of that. But for somebody who is like newbie to AWS, would be some learning curve. But thankfully, AWS has lots of resources. I will provide the link in the end of the demo, end of the presentation. So there are some courses which you can use and watch how to basically create simple apps. And it can be very helpful for your learning. Consistent changes. It's more to not to amplify itself, but AWS in general, who works with AWS, they know how often AWS gets new changes, updates. So if you use AWS in general, you should be like up to date and watch for updates and keep your app updated. Cost, yeah, so cost is something to monitor. I heard that for some users, cost was like a bit higher than expected. But I didn't feel that yet because it's just a side project. It's small. It's still in development. I can't comment much on this. But what is good that you can set a like notification to set some threshold. I set it to $10. So if it's like above $10, I will be notified. So just keep monitoring your like expense in AWS. Traffic distribution. So it is something like it's more for web development that you cannot use load balancers to distribute traffic during like traffic spikes or if there's latency issues. So these are main disadvantages. And let's talk about alternatives. So main alternative, as you probably may guess, is like main alternative is a Firebase. It's a like alternative to AWS Amplify, but it's backed by Google Cloud. So it's one of the main comparing to AWS Amplify, one of the main cloud platforms for development, full stack app development. Next one is Back4App, also quite famous platform. And the last one, Backendless. Honestly, I just found it's one of the alternatives, but I never used it. The only thing I know about it is its headquarters located in Plano, Texas, which is half an hour from me. So can comment if someone used, would be interesting to hear. Firebase Amplify versus Firebase or Back4App or Backendless. And to sum up what I was saying, that Amplify is a really nice tool. I mean, it's not like I'm like fall in love with AWS Amplify or everything very smooth. There have been some difficulties, and also I needed to like navigate through documentation. Sometimes it was a little bit frustrating, but for my specific case, for my side project, I think it serves well. I can't imagine if I would have to build my own backend, or yeah, I know there are some other alternatives, like I said, Firebase, Back4Up, but I was already familiar with AWS. And for someone who knows AWS, or at least familiar, it's a good option instead of learning some new cloud provider. So it's going to be even more difficult. What is good about iOS specifically, that since it's like constant changes, they also try to keep all the libraries of Amplify up to date, and it supports latest iOS technologies like async await, combine, Swift UI. So basically, when you navigate through the documentation, you can select if you want to query for certain object, you want to do it in async await or combine, so you have options. And like in general, Amplify, as I said, is like a gateway to all the AWS tools. And some of you may know some tools. I already showed some for storage, for authentication, but I just went and checked all list of all the services, and I was surprised how much more services they provide. For example, blockchain, IoT, machine learning, quantum technologies, robotics. So much more. If somebody wants to explore this, like AI is now very popular. So you can use Amplify and use these new technologies. And these are links to AWS Amplify website, Sandbox, which I showed you. You can get started playing with it. Dev Center, which has when you can select your platform and start developing, learning courses. Of course, for somebody new, you can start learning and start coding. And that's all from me. Yeah, I see a question from Brian. Seems like Firebase. Yeah, it's like Firebase. We discussed that. So basically, database, SQL or no SQL. Honestly, I don't remember what database. So like this is one of the good advantages probably. So you don't have to dive too deep to like understand what's going on under the hood. So as I showed, I just used libraries for saving, for fetching data. Yeah, so I didn't check what kind of database they use. I would assume it's like non-relational database, but haven't checked. Any other questions? If any questions on the demo, I can go back to the code and.
Yeah, I think you kind of covered a little bit of my question, but scalability in like a major application for like hundreds of thousands of users. Would you see Amplify as one of the ways to go, or one of the alternatives that you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I see it for for my project, I see it as a good way for possible future scaling, because like as other cloud providers, I don't have to worry about like storage or database or something. So I just use it, and they have plenty of storage, and I have more. If these apps have more users, I just use more storage, just pay more cost for that. So I see it like this is one of the like advantages of using cloud, right? So you don't have, if you have your like on-prem server, you need to care about storage, all that, like scale it. But here it's going to be scaled for me. And of course, if for some more complex logic, Amplify wouldn't be enough. As I showed that if you need to do some configuration in API, you need to go to AppSync service. You need to actually know what service does the job, like authentication. Is it like what service, AWS Cognito or some other service? So you need to know. And if you work more with it, would be good to have some AWS course. So just to understand better, so you can create more complex backend logic.
Thanks, Nikolai. Excellent talk. And as a reminder to you all, we do these talks every Thursday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. And next week, Nikhil Hiramat, who is an experienced software engineer with us, is going to give us an overview of Docker containers. As a lot of you know, Docker is an open platform for developing, shipping, and running applications, and it helps you separate your applications from your infrastructure so you can deliver your software quickly. And whether you're using Docker or not, all of you should know about Docker's capabilities. So make sure you mark your calendar for next week. Thank you all once again for joining and have a wonderful evening. I'll see you all next week.